Hey, for this video, we're going to talk about the pentatonic scales. Pentatonic meaning penta, five, tonic meaning tones. So there are 5 notes that repeat, and this is different from the diatonic scale, which has all 7 notes of a major scale or natural minor scale. And a lot of y'all are familiar with kind of a stationary version of this scale, like an A minor pentatonic, where you're stuck in one spot, which has a lot of uses. There's a lot of blues scales and where you stay in one spot, and they're great scales. But occasionally there's use of a pentatonic scale where you actually use it as kind of a vehicle to get from one point of the neck to another. And we're specifically going to be talking about C major. And keep in mind that every key has a relative major and minor. So C major has no sharps and no flats. The relative minor key is A, so A minor. And C major, they share the same key signature. So you can use this scale for either of those keys, C major or A minor. So the reason I picked this scale is I want to show why it's handy to have 2 different types of it. One starts on the root C on the 6th string, 8th fret. And so we're going to walk up this scale, and we're playing 5 notes in the scale. It goes 6th string, 8, 10, 12, and then 5th string, 10, 12. Okay, now those are the 5 notes. Those 5 notes are going to repeat as we go through this scale. So, and then it starts over. I'm on the 4th string, 10th fret, 12, 14, then 3rd string, 12th fret, 14th fret. So we've gone through that sequence twice. And you can hear how that's the same group of notes, one's just an octave higher. So we ended on the 3rd string, 14th fret. If we keep going now, we're going to shift on the 2nd string to the 13th fret. And that, again, we're starting on a C every time. So C, C right here, and then C right here. So 2nd string, 13th fret, 13, 15, 17, and then 1st string, 15 to 17. So now I've gone through that sequence 3 times. I've got, that's the 1st octave, 2nd octave, and the 3rd octave. And a lot of times I'll land on there on the 20th fret. That's the final C. So we've now played C in 4 places: here, 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 and then we land here. Now what's cool about this scale is you can kind of roll from one position to the next using slides. So I'm going to slide from 10 to 12, 12 to 14, 15 to 17. So we have that. Okay. So the reason I chose C is because a lot of times you end up playing notes up here and you're way up on the neck, and you may or may not have a cutaway because you can play this on an electric or an acoustic. And so I have an option. I can start on the 5th string C down here. And now the same kind of sequence follows suit with your fingers. I'm going 3, 5, 7, 5, 7 on the 4th string. So 5th string, 3, 5, 7, and then 4th string, 5, 7. And you can hear it's the same group of notes. Okay, and then it just keeps going. 3rd string, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, and I've got a shift on the 2nd string to the 8th fret here, and then 10. So I've got and on this one I kind of end on 1st string. I go 8, 10, 12. I mean, you can keep going on this, but then you're going to end up playing a lead line all on one string, kind of moving up. Which I could keep doing that and end there, but that's not very practical. So I've got 2 versions of that moving pentatonic scale. First one starting on the root note here on the 6th string, C. And the second one starting on the root note C on the 5th string. And I would just end it right there. Now, here's some uses for this. The pentatonic scale works great with all major chords. So say I'm playing in the key of C, and I'm playing a C, G, F. And you can play these, I'm playing them as bar chords, but you can think of it as open chords too. C, G, F. For each of those chords, I can play a pentatonic starting on the root note of that chord. So I just played a pentatonic in C, in G, and in F. And that sometimes is pretty cool. It's a neat way to walk from one chord to the next. So, if I'm playing... I just took a very simple chord progression using the 1, the 5, and the 4 chord, and gave it some little things to kind of spice up and give you some ways to travel from one chord to the next. Something I really like to do also, just to get out of the key of C. This works in for any chord. If I'm playing the key of D, I've got D, A, G. Any of those chords, I can do that. If I'm in the key of E, now one thing on the 6th string, my E is not a fretted note, it's an open string. So I'm not starting with a fretted note, I'm starting with an open string instead of having my finger, holding that note right there. It's an open string, so I can play open. So open, slide from 2 to 4, and then 5th string, 2 and 4, and then I land on this E right here, 4th string, 2nd fret. Now if I do that on the 6th string, I can play that open top string, the E, open E, and then I can play that pentatonic scale starting on my 5th string. So my 5th string, 7th fret, that's an E. So I can play that. But when I do that on top of an open E string, I'm just going back and forth between an E bass note and an A bass note. That's the one in the four chord. So that's kind of a cool jam you can do if I'm playing in the key of E. So just some cool things you can do with the pentatonic scale. Originally we started in the key of C, but showed you kind of how you can move that around from one major chord to another, and then also some cool things you can do on an open E chord. So hope that's fun for you. It gives you some different ways to think about how to get from point A to point B. Thanks.